Hey,
Hey,
welcome to the Driven Stone Podcast, a podcast where two friends raise a glass and have a conversation. I'm Nick.
I'm Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Nick.
How's it going?
It's going all right. How are you?
Man, I'm doing well.
Good.
Guess what, though?
What?
I'm kind of thirsty.
Should we drink something?
I thought you'd never ask.
Really? Did you really think that?
Well, based on how the show goes, no, I knew we were going to drink something.
It was coming.
It was.
Oh, hey, I got a bottle for you.
What you got?
I've got a new bottle.
Okay.
It's a bottle we haven't had on the podcast. It's a bottle I've never owned, period. I got this bottle from a big box store.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bought into a program.
I love how you didn't really want to admit that big box store.
Got involved into a program, earned my points, and I got a bottle. We're gonna dip back into the old Buffalo Trace Weller land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wellerland.
Wellerland. This is a pretty special bottle,
Say
man.
that 3 times fast. Wellerland.
Wellerland.
Special bottle. What do you mean?
I've literally seen this bottle to purchase once ever.
Really?
And it was in Alabama.
Yeah.
And it was, I think, $150.
Whoa. Yeah. You know what? I can see the bottle in your hand. So I've seen that bottle also to purchase once in Texas, and it was like 80.
Right.
And you had to be part of some sort of special thing. Like
I
the
gotcha.
average person just couldn't go up and buy
It was another program.
It was another program.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it was. I think the store is called Specs,
Mm.
not the music, like defunct music store, but it was like a Specs alcohol emporium or something.
Never heard of either one of them.
It's okay.
But I got the bottle.
You do. What is it?
This is Weller Antique 107.
Wow, that is a pretty bottle.
Now, sir, in Weller land,
Yeah.
this one's like a favorite.
Is that like Flavortown?
Sure.
Okay.
It's like right next door.
It's Wellerland next to
Wellerland.
Flavortown?
Yeah. In
What?
part of Whiskey County.
Nailed it. Yeah, Antique 107 is generally one of the bigger touted versions of the Weller. I mean, you have Weller Special Reserve, like your general Weller, but the 107 seems to be what everybody kind of calls like the poor man's pappy kind of thing.
Sure.
Of like you can take a bottle of 107, Antique 107, and quote unquote make it into pappy, which,
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, if you say so.
sure.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's highly touted. Like I said, I've never had a bottle of it. I was super stoked to get it.
Have you had a pour of it before?
Have not. I'm
Oh.
going to crack it right here, right now.
Oh,
Yeah, I've never even, well, not true. I have tasted it.
Okay,
I've had a pour of it 3-4 years ago,
okay.
but do not remember it.
No, I too have had a pour of it and don't remember it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So-
a weeder.
Ooh, I'm really excited, and obviously the Antique 107, it's 107 proof.
Correct.
Okay.
107 proof. We'll definitely have to throw this up against the Special Reserve, see what's the difference.
Yeah, I think Special Reserve is 90.
Yeah, 90 on the nose.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's get into it.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah, all Weller bottles are exactly the same. The difference being the labeling's a little different, the coloring's a little different.
Correct. Yeah. Red label, gold lettering, reminiscent of a Marvel character I know.
Oh,
Iron Man. Him too. You want some bottle words before we pop it?
yeah, please.
Or you want to pop it first?
Give me some bottle words. Let's let that anticipation linger.
I got you. I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
All right. A true whiskey pioneer, W.L. Weller, is credited by many for being the first to produce Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey using wheat instead of rye in his mash bill. William LaRue Weller's wheated bourbon became so popular that Weller was forced to put a certain thumbprint on barrels to ensure that customers were receiving the real deal. This 107 proof bourbon whiskey tastes sweet yet bold, with unusual floral notes and hints of vanilla in reverence to the legacy of William LaRue Weller. How do you like that? It's got a cork in it.
It's got a real cork?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
It's not a screwy.
I just noticed that.
I did too. I assumed underneath that wrapper it was going to be a twisty.
Yeah. Well, I
To be
guess the
honest.
regular Weller doesn't have a wrapper, I presume then. I think we've been on record as to say all Weller's got the twisty top, but apparently not.
Yeah, apparently we were incorrect there.
Well, it happens occasionally.
Every bottle of Special Reserve that I've ever had was a twisty top.
Correct.
I don't know if they've moved that one into the cork realm.
Probably
Yeah, no,
not.
that's pretty exciting.
You think that's a real cork? You think it's synthetic?
That's real.
Ooh,
I can tell.
even better.
You can see the
Oh yeah, I can see it. The imperfections.
yeah, the notches in it.
Yeah.
Watch this sucker break off in there.
So pissed. Hey, do me a favor. Pop that cork. Nice.
Cute.
man, that's such a good sound. What do you got on color?
It is pretty quintessential bourbon.
Yeah, it looks like
color.
brown liquor in a glass to me.
Yeah.
What you got on nose?
Sweet Cheerios.
Yeah. The proof is coming through a little bit, though, too.
I'm honestly surprised it's not popping more.
For me, it is.
107 is pretty high.
Yeah, 107 is not bad. It's in that good kind of nice sweet spot area normally.
Yeah, right where I want it.
Do you think it's overly sweet on the nose?
No, I just get like sweet wheat. I get some cherry.
Yeah, a little bit of like dusty leather maybe. Yeah. Now that I've said that, and maybe it's self-fulfilling, but like I get a little bit of like, I'm not gonna go so far as like I walked in a leather store. There's a leather belt hanging up in a barn or something. You know what though? You said cherry. I don't get a whole lot of cherry, and I'm kind of surprised because normally in like Buffalo Trace products, especially the Weeders, I get actually a healthy amount of cherry.
I do. I get like not like maraschino,
right?
But like kind of like just natural, like right out of a bag, cherry.
All right.
I mean, it smells good.
It does.
Nothing bad about it. Brown sugar, maybe. Would you like to go in, sir?
Going in.
Going in.
Going in.
Pretty tasty.
Hold on.
Oh, there's the proof. Cannonball right in the gut.
Okay. I was a little concerned that first sip, I just got like watery. I didn't get a whole lot of flavor, but I think I just took a sip of water just a little bit ago. I think I still had, it was coating my palate. But man, you really get all of the same things you get on the nose and that nice proof. Like, ooh, I got it going on right now. A little Kentucky hug.
Yeah.
That nice proof kind of pops in there at the end, and it's really nice.
Totally.
I feel like this is exactly where Weller should always be. And I mean, how many times have we said about bourbons just in general of like you go over 100, and that tends to be where we find the sweet spot anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think with more proof, you get more complexity.
Yep.
All the flavors kind of jump a little bit more.
Yep.
I think you definitely can kind of like, I've kind of gotten to the point where your super high proof stuff, the battle with the proof, I'm almost like, I don't want to say I'm not willing, but like it's almost like I would rather back off a little bit.
Yeah.
Just so I don't have to like force myself to beat the proof
right.
to find the flavor.
Right.
So this just north of 100 for me is right where I want it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like all the flavors still sing really loud.
Yeah.
And come through really clear, and you're not battling the proof as much. The proof is there for you.
Yeah.
But it's not overwhelming.
I would say like that anywhere between 100 and maybe like 120, 123 is a good spot that I kind of like to be in.
Totally.
I know there's a lot of variation within that, but once you start pushing 125 and higher, then you start to contend with some real proof.
Right.
And then you're right, it becomes like, okay, how much do I want to devote to this? Do I really want to sit here and like, okay, battle with this proof and like, okay, what do I get from this? And when you're above 125, sure, you can have 2 pours, but you're going to be on your ass.
Yeah.
So
totally
be ready for it.
I've come to the point like where a lot of those high proofs, I'll take the initial sip foolproof.
Right.
And just wake up my palate. Just like shock it awake. And then I'll drop just
light it on fire is what you mean.
Like the tiniest ice cube I can find, and I'll drop that in there, let that dissolve, and then sip after that.
Yep.
And everything just comes through crystal clear.
Yep.
Like every flavor note is just perfect. And you're not being drowned out by the volume of the proof. Everything just kind of is more even keel, I guess.
Right. Okay. So back to the 107, I do take a bit of issue.
Mm-hmm.
It is literally, it's like, it's the best version of the Wellers that I have. And I know that we're going to throw the bottle of Weller in later just to put it against it. But it is what it is. Like there's no roller coaster. Like it's exactly the same from beginning to end. You get sweet, you get a little bit of proof.
Yep.
It's really nice and friendly.
Yeah. Super nice and friendly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is kind of just like some of the bottles that we've said of like, here's our note.
Yep.
And we crush it with that note.
Right.
It's a delicious note, but there's no complexity.
Right. Well, and you
I don't know if that's a bad word, but
well, you said that the proof ups the complexity, and I agree it does, but it doesn't up it so much that like you get what I would call a complex bourbon. This is not a complex bourbon by any means.
right.
Because to me, it's it is quintessential bourbon in terms of what you want. It's what when people say bourbon, this is what they want.
Right.
They want this kind of bourbon.
Sure.
I mean, but that's it. You don't get really anything outside of vanilla, some of those sweet wheat notes that you get because it's a wheater.
Right.
And that's basically it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm not dogging it by any means. It's really good.
Oh, yeah.
It's really tasty.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like a really smooth, perfect kind of like we hit the sweet spot and we just kind of sit right there with it.
And that's all we want to do.
But there's no there's no challenge to it. There's no curveballs. It's like the nose matches the flavor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Here's what I'm going to say too. Knowing what this normally goes for, I think I'd be disappointed if I bought this bottle at that, $150 range.
Sure.
I'm not saying it's not good, because it is good.
Right.
But it's not $150 good.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely one of those things of like the hype around it. It's hard to give it a fair shake.
Right.
It's really hard to kind of judge it fairly because you are considering the hype around it. You throw it in a blind, like that'll obviously be the interesting thing of when we get to a point where we're able to put that in a blind with some other stuff and see what happens.
Right.
I can totally see why it does get the hype that it gets, because it really is completely unoffensive. It's really friendly. It's really tasty. It's sweet. It gives you everything that you would want out of a whiskey, just minus the complexity.
Right. Looking up the mash bill, as you know, and as we've talked about before, there is Buffalo Trace really doesn't release mash bills, but it is their wheated mash bill. Supposed mash bill is 70 corn, 16 wheat, 14 malted barley.
Interesting.
Yeah. But there's also no age statement. And like I feel like outside of like, your Antique 12 or your Weller 12 and things like that, like Buffalo Trace is not super big on age statements either.
No. But I don't think they're also, like, at the same time, they're not, I don't think they're big on, hey, here's a 2-year.
No. Places that we've looked have said that probably it's in the 6 to 7 year range, in that general range.
Right.
So, I don't know. To me, I think an age statement actually makes things better, because you're like, oh, this thing sat in a barrel for 6 years.
Totally. It just gives you, a little bit of context.
Yeah, it really does. So, I don't know. Could I say that if they said that this is a 6-year bourbon and that it, I don't know, gave me a little bit more information, would I pay $150? Probably not.
I don't know. The expectation of this bottle.
Right.
This is Antique 107.
Right.
This is so many people's like favorite thing.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's really good.
Right.
But it's like it's just one of those things of like having had so many other different things now at this point.
Right.
To this be the first time I've had this and can remember it and like kind of like back it up with all those other things. Like there's nothing to not like. There's no bitter element at all.
But I'm not impressed.
No, yeah, totally. Is it worth the hype? No. But at the same time, like I can kind of understand.
I understand exactly
20 years ago where this would have had all the hype.
Oh, for sure. Well, I even understand like this year. I understand why people want this because of the hype, but not because of the liquid in the bottle.
Exactly. What I'm saying is like I can understand like 20 years ago, before bourbon became what it is,
right?
And like you've got all the different barrel picks and where the complexity within bourbon became a thing, where people were just like sipping a thing like, oop, don't like it. I need smooth.
Right.
This is as smooth gets. Like this is silk on your palate.
Oh, really? It is. For
like
sure.
The sweet, the no bitter note at all.
Yeah.
Like this is just like silk.
It's
straight down.
Unbelievably friendly.
So I can understand how at a certain point in time that was the caliber of what you were looking for in a bourbon.
Sure.
And I can understand totally how this is like, this does it.
Yeah.
That's delicious.
Yep.
I can totally understand that.
Well, and that right there is a really good point too. Like I would say that anyone who buys a bottle of this at the suggested price is going to find this a good pour.
Yeah. For what I paid for this, it's fucking amazing for what I paid for it.
Correct.
But yeah.
No, and that's a good point too. I mean, when you consider price, if you could walk into a store and find this on a shelf any day of the week, it's a great pour.
Sure.
But because you can't, the rarity of the thing does not make it a better pour to me.
No, I totally agree. You know, and we'll be able to do it at some point in a blind where we can really kind of like parse out where does it fall.
Right.
But yeah, like, I mean, just understanding the hype of it, that's
It's
good.
good. It's
I
good.
understand it.
Yep.
It's good. Okay.
Yeah. I just
Is
had.
it better than Rare Breed? Is it better than 100 other ones? Like, probably not.
All right. So now that we've got a pretty good pour,
Pretty good pour.
what do you want to talk about this week?
You've had the chance to watch another Marvel thing.
I have.
We should talk about it.
Honestly, your daughter yelled at me because she
On
thought that I
Thanksgiving.
had it. Yeah, on Thanksgiving, she was like, Nick hasn't seen this. I'm like, au contraire.
That's right. Yeah, no, we haven't talked about Shang-Chi yet.
Oh, yeah. So is that what we're talking about?
Let's talk about Shang-Chi.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to. We don't have to.
No, let's just drink some more bourbon.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll do that too.
No, let's talk about
We'll do
Shang-Chi.
that at the same time.
Oh, okay. Can we?
Of course we can.
Okay. Just making
It's
sure.
what we do.
Yeah, I did have the opportunity to watch it, and I've got some thoughts.
On a flight?
Uh,
Do you watch it on a plane?
I did. I started on a plane, and then I finished at home.
Coming back
Yes.
from Denver?
Yeah, from Denver. Yep.
Cool.
I did.
All right.
So I got some thoughts.
Got some thoughts. Let's thought it away. Did you like the movie?
I did like the movie.
Okay.
And in fact, like it was one of the more enjoyable Marvel movies I've seen recently.
Since Endgame, we've had Spider-Man Far From Home,
Right.
and we've had Black Widow.
Okay.
Those are the two legit, like,
So I haven't-
cinematic experiences.
I've seen
which I saw.
no
none of
Tom
those.
Holland Spider-Man.
Okay.
I still haven't.
Interesting.
I don't know why. I just haven't.
Okay.
Honestly, because they're not accessible to me right now. Probably that's it.
Sure.
So of the stuff that
not
has
true, but sure.
how is it not true?
You can log into my YouTube and watch them whenever you want.
Oh, I didn't know that. Can everybody log into your YouTube and watch them?
Apparently.
Okay.
Yeah, we got all the Spider-Man on there.
So of the stuff that has been released post Endgame,
Okay.
I would say that this is something that I'm most excited about.
Cool.
I really enjoyed it. I think there's some issues. I think there's problems with it.
Okay.
But I really enjoyed it. Would I say great? It's like right below great for
Okay.
me.
Fair enough.
It's really good.
Fair enough. Yeah. I think that's like generally Marvel anyway.
Yeah.
It's like their sweet spot anyway.
What do you think?
I really liked it. I honestly thought it was like a breath of fresh air
Yeah?
for the MCU.
Okay.
To see, it gave me very much like Black Panther vibes.
Oh, for
of
sure.
like bringing in a new culture.
Yeah.
And like a new mythos and stuff like that into the MCU. And so I dug all of that stuff. I mean, I am 100% admittedly a huge Marvel fanboy, so like, I'll find the bright spot in any of it to enjoy
Right.
it. But no, I like the way that it opened up certain things, and it just adds depth and more flavor, and like I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
And I loved like the little sprinklings of like MCU that they threw into it too.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so now that we're here and we're about to like really get into this conversation, a spoiler warning. Because I think this is within still spoiler territory as in terms of when it released.
Fair enough.
Because it came out, what, early September?
Yeah, I think so.
So I would say you're still in spoiler territory here.
Yeah.
So if you have yet to see Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, pause this episode. And I say pause. Don't turn it off. Pause it. Go watch it. You can find it on Disney Plus or probably anywhere else where movies are distributed illegally. And then come back. Not that we would ever condone that, Kyle.
No.
Yeah. And then come back and then hit play on this episode.
Yeah. Email me my YouTube password. I'll give it to you. You can watch it. JK Disney. Don't come at me.
Or do. Give us some exposure. We don't care.
We'll get clicks for it.
Spoilers ahead, Kyle.
Yes.
All right.
Ahoy.
Let's talk about what we each... Let's kind of get the bad stuff out of the way. if you
Okay.
I mean, I am more critical.
But before you do, throw a 1 to 10.
Oh,
Can you do that?
I don't.
You said not great, but
Yeah.
really good. You talking like 7, 8,
I could say 7. Yeah,
7?
I go 7.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I were ranking it, I'm thinking I could go 8.5.
Okay,
Yeah.
I could see that.
I think I'd put it in there.
Sure. Like I said, I think it's a little bit better than good. Not great, but I do have some issues with it.
Okay.
It really kind of is the issues that I have with a lot of Marvel in general.
Okay.
The first being the mythos within it. It doesn't really give you a whole lot in terms of like the movie's called Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, and it explains about the Ten Rings, like zero about the Ten Rings. It kind of gives you a little bit of background on the rings as it relates to Wenwu, which I really like that character and like the mythos that surrounds him.
Right.
But it explains zero about what those rings are and how they work and what they mean. Whereas like there's a really deep mythos with the rings.
Okay.
And each of the rings, I did a little bit of research because I was confused as I was watching the movie. Like, what do these rings do? I guess like each ring has its own like function, and each ring itself does something.
In the comic books, they do.
Correct.
I don't know if that's going to be the case in
And
the
I don't
MCU.
know either. But what I mean by that is like they've given this thing. I mean, the movie is part of these rings, and they really don't explain the rings. I think they're cool as hell. They look cool.
Sure.
But they don't explain anything.
They don't, and I think that's intentional.
Oh, yeah.
Like, maybe they shouldn't have named it Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings because they don't give you much info on it, but like they're setting it up that it will.
And that's it.
I think they didn't want to go that route of each ring has its own thing. In the comics, the way that they're explained, it's very similar to the Infinity Stones.
Correct.
Of this one's the power ring, this one's the mind ring.
Yeah,
like they
the
have that
freeze
same
ring,
kind of thing.
like freeze, yeah.
And I can understand them not wanting to go right back into that and echo that right away.
Yeah, and I don't disagree, but I think like my point is like this is something that Marvel is guilty of. The MCU, not the comics, is that I'm going to introduce this thing to you in this movie. I'm not going to explain it for maybe 2 more movies.
Sure.
And like that I just find that annoying in some ways because Marvel has so much trust in the viewer that like you're going to watch this anyway. So like we're going to just tease this. But it also becomes like, can you just give me something? Can you give me a little more here because you've called the movie Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings and like explain nothing about the 10 Rings.
I don't know. They explain nothing. Like you see how they work.
Right.
You see how you can use them.
Do you? I mean, yeah, you see how you can use them. They don't really explain how they work. Like he just kind of like knows how to use them. Shang-Chi when he gets them.
Sure.
When
how
Wu
does
knows,
Iron Man's suit work?
well, Tony Stark created it. He knows how it works. I don't need to know how it works. You think? Oh, you trapped me. You just
walked
trapped
right
me.
into that.
You trapped me. I see. Right, but okay. To be fair, we believe that Tony Stark knows how a suit works because he made the suit.
Sure.
I don't believe for a second Shang-Chi knows how those things work because like when he finally gets them on his hands, he's like, oh, what?
Again, I will fully admit that I am willing to believe whatever Kevin Feige tells me.
Sure.
But and my perspective on that is like he does that whole training session with his aunt and like she's helping him explain kind of the, the
movements.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like connecting, in a certain way. And like, I think he recognizes it when he's battling with his father. He feels it and he's connected to his mother. He's connected to his father.
Right.
And he understands it in that moment, just in like a kind of like almost like muscle memory type thing of like, I know what this should feel like. And he's able to connect to it and harness it.
People also painted like lamps with uranium. So that's a thing too. We knew what it did. We don't know how it works.
I don't know what that is.
You don't know about that? Like
Painted lights with...
Yeah, like uranium was like people would paint like vases with uranium because it glowed. And they're like, oh, that's cute.
Cool.
The thing glows.
Right.
They didn't know what it was doing.
Oh,
that's what
nuclear?
Yeah. Or radioactive.
Right.
Yeah. That's one of my like points.
Okay.
And like it bothered me enough where it kind of took me out of it a little bit. We're like, okay, how do these things work? Like you couldn't have just thrown me a little bit more of a bone here, Marvel. Like just explain just a little bit more. I mean, so that's one thing.
I guess, but it's like, how does Captain America control the shield?
Okay, I think it is. It's that fatigue, and I've gone on record of like I had Marvel fatigue, and
right?
I still might here and there until your daughter yells at me. But like, you're not wrong. It's just Marvel at this point trusts that we're going to buy into it, and I think maybe as not a big as a comic nerd as you are,
sure,
like that just for whatever reason took me out of it because I'm like, how do these things work?
Fair enough. And I think Marvel has, like, I think they definitely are probably aware of that kind of a thing of, like, not all of humanity is going to be so willing to just, like,
you mean they're not thinking about me?
No, I think they are.
Oh,
I think they probably give way more consideration to you than they do to me.
Oh, okay.
Honestly.
Well, everyone does.
But, because I think that's, like, the case with anything, like, how does Edward Scissorhands work? you know, there's just a certain bit of disbelief that is in, I think.
Listen, you're asking me to explain Tim Burton. Yes, no.
Well, I mean, not. I mean, that one just pokes out. But like, you know,
it just was released on Disney Plus.
Well, we watched it a few
you?
weeks ago on something else. I think it was on HBO.
Does it hold
Max,
up?
Maybe because it's so crazy. Yeah, because it's not.
It's bizarre.
It's not like of the time.
No,
it was so crazy back then. It's more like now you watch and it's like, how did this ever get made? Like, in what time period was this movie like okayed off by somebody? Like, yep, check.
Sounds good.
Here's $1 billion. Go make this movie.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Okay, so the other thing that I kind of have an issue with is the movie at points, the visuals are just kind of flat to me. Like, there are points where, like, it's beautiful. Like, was it Tao Lo? Is that what it is? Tao Lo?
Tao Lo.
Yeah, Tao Lo. Like, there are points in Tao Lo, which is like his mother's enchanted land kind of thing.
It's like a different, I don't know if they go to a different universe.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not, like, on Earth.
Right.
Like, it's
somewhere else.
Somewhere else, yeah.
Sure. I think there are parts of that are beautiful, but then there are parts that kind of, like, render Michael Bay-ish, and that's like the fight with the dragon,
bad guy,
the
bad demon,
right, and like it just kind of loses me a lot, and you're just kind of like a Michael Bay movie where like time and space you don't really know where you are. There's a little bit of that going on, which I think is a directorial choice. But then some of the visuals, some of like when he's fighting his aunt, like that could have been so much better to me. The visual is just like they're in this weird like arena kind of thing, and it's just one note and kind of flat. It doesn't pop as much as I would have liked it to. And maybe that's just small, like such a nuanced kind of thing. But there are parts in the fight scenes where I'm just kind of lost, and so the visuals are then rendered like, oh. And there are also parts where it's very clear that this is CGI.
Sure.
And that's true of all Marvel. Like we all know that, you know, there's no dude flying with a hammer through space. Like that is CGI.
Right.
But there's, for whatever reason, there are parts that are just less believable to me.
Fair enough. Compared to like what we've been seeing in all the Disney Plus things, where I think the CGI in those have been like pretty remarkable for a series, like a not a television series, but just like a streaming series.
Yeah.
Like Vision looked amazing in WandaVision. Like he looked like just
all
like
the
cinematic
stuff in
vision.
Loki is beautiful.
Yeah, like it's all been really impressive. Like I was actually really surprised how much of Shang-Chi, I don't want to say like necessarily like I missed the spectacle, but that was kind of the first thing that I had seen post Far From Home where there was like this kind of big epic kind of a thing.
Right.
And I actually, on the other side of it, caught all of that kind of refreshing. And I felt like the dragon, the way that it moved was so cool in terms of like, you know, how you've always kind of pictured like that Chinese dragon, like and how it would like work and stuff like that. You know, I was eating that popcorn, baby. Like I was just there.
Like, and I don't disagree. Like there are parts that are beautiful, but then I'm just lost sometimes.
Sure.
And I don't know, maybe that was a space in which I was watching it. I don't really know, but like I feel like Marvel up until this point has done a good job of like avoiding the Michael Bay kind of thing. Right. And I know I'm hating on Michael Bay, but that's every Michael Bay movie. That's what it is. You're just kind of lost in time and space in these battles. And this is the first one where I'm like, huh, the hell's going on here?
Sure. I mean, I didn't have that experience with that one. Like, I totally know what you mean.
Yeah.
Like in a you know, a lot of movies, like you do lose that concept of where things are happening. Like I think there's moments of Endgame in that final battle where you're not really sure where you're at within the realm of everything. And like there's like very popular like things where they point out that like there's a shot of Ant-Man over here and he's regular size, and then like they clip out and he's giant again, and then they go back and he's
little again.
Like y'all messed up there. I understood. Like you've got a lake.
Yeah. The
bad stuff is on the other side of the lake. Good stuff's over on this side of the lake, and it's like everything's happening somewhere within those three places. It wasn't so gargantuan or dystopian of a moment that it was like hard to understand. But like, I mean, I totally understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Something that bothered me about the movie that just like I wish they would have handled it somewhat better was, one, it was Awkwafina's character. I love her character.
Right.
But it was how all of a sudden at the end she's this amazing archer.
Right.
And at the same time, all of the bad guys how they all turned on a dime by watching this thing kill that one dude. And they just like on a dime. All right, we've all got to work together here. Everybody on the same team, right? Cool. Yeah. All right, we're all just fighting each other, but now we're all cool, right? Cool.
I
didn't like that turn either.
The 10 rings as
when they're all there, they're all battling each other at first,
right?
And that first little demon sucker comes over and like kills. So I forget that character's name.
Let's contextualize that a little bit. So the 10 rings. So we made mention of like the 10 rings being the mythos of that, but the 10 rings is also not only the actual rings, but it's the name of their organization.
Right.
So maybe that's the part that I'm not concerned about that at all. Like I get that. So what you're talking about is when the 10 rings as the organization, what we thought were the initial bad guys, they're fighting the
good guys.
The good guys, right? And then they all like you said, let's work
They're
together.
battling.
Okay. I'm with you.
One thing comes over, one thing happens, and they all decide, hey, we all have to now change our allegiance. We're all now working together to battle this thing.
Yeah.
That turn was too easy. I just didn't like how all the bad guys just immediately decided.
Right.
That was just a little too easy.
Yeah.
And it was like at the end of it, like everybody's buddies again.
Yeah. You're totally right.
And then like, Shang-Chi's sister becomes like the head of the 10 rings, and now all those dudes work for her.
Yeah.
Like it's just a little bit too much of a bow on it.
It's that suspension of disbelief, like at some point, like it would not have happened this way.
Right. And Aquafina's character having the killing shot on this the major soul sucker.
Right.
Like that's just a bit too much for me. Like I wish maybe his aunt took that shot, or like the old dude took that shot, or like somebody that has worked with this stuff for years and has like earned the shot. Like she's been dabbling with this for a couple of hours at best,
right?
And you're gonna say that like she just was able to make that shot. There's like that's a bit that's a little too much for me.
I don't disagree with that either. Like nothing like in the entire film, she's just like I like the character. She's kind of bumbling. She's clearly in love with Shang-Chi. Like, yes, cool. But you're right. They get to Talo, and then 30 minutes in the span of the film, basically, like now she's this amazing archer.
Yeah.
Come on. So yeah, I don't like, there are holes, and there's like that huge suspension of disbelief. I agree with those. Yeah. And I think like now that I think back on it, that definitely takes me out of it a little bit too.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, just a little too friendly. Like there needs to be a little bit more angst and a little bit more earned for those kinds of things to just turn like that.
But they kind of do that with, I mean, do I want to say like they kind of do that with a lot of female characters? They do. They don't give any sort of character arc, because the movie's not about her for sure. But they kind of did that with Black Widow. Like, man, she's just a crazy spy. Okay, now she can do all this crazy spy shit. Like they do that a lot.
Not like that though. Not where we start you out in the movie as a parking attendant, and at the end, like within hours, you become this archer that can take out this mammoth, like mystical beast.
Yeah, from several 100 meters.
Yeah,
sure.
Like that's just a bit much. Like, especially knowing how hard it is to actually fire an arrow.
Yeah,
you're like, come on.
Yeah,
come on.
All right, so now that we've discussed kind of the things that we don't really like about the movie, I want to get into the things that we love about it.
Okay.
Before we do that, though, do you want to put the Antique 107 against regular Special Reserve?
Yeah, you know it.
All right, let's do it. It's a twisty. Should I take a sip of the regular, or take a sip of the Antique 107 and then compare? Like,
yeah, I'm gonna nose taste Antique one more time.
Okay.
I'm gonna go over see how awful the Special Reserve is.
Man, like the depth of that caramel nose has gotten like way more prominent.
That, and I get like a salted caramel.
Yeah,
on the palate too.
A little bit of toffee. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like I get it.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing aggressive. There's nothing overly complicated about it.
It's good. Like
it's really, it's good.
It's good.
It's easy.
Yeah.
I think that's probably it.
It's easy.
It's just easy.
It's an easy 107.
Yeah.
To the regular Special Reserve, which is, to be fair, is still a pretty difficult bottle to find, depending on where you are. So we're dropping proof points by what? 17 points here?
17 points. That's a chunk.
that's drop. You know what? You still get that same nose.
Yeah, it still smells like Weller.
It really does. So Is the only difference between the special and the 107 the proof?
That's all I think it is.
Yeah. Okay.
I definitely like. You can smell the difference in proof though.
Oh yeah, like that proof drops.
It's gone.
Yeah.
You don't smell it.
But the note is the same characteristic.
But yeah,
it's
the nose is the same. It's just there's no
there's
proof.
a little bit of like dusty leather, still the same kind of caramel. It's the same basic color. All right, going in.
Yeah.
I'll say that the special reserve without the proof, it's just candy. It's so sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just it's that one note. There's not a whole lot to think about here. Everything we've said before.
I think it's everything. Everything is just brought down 17 points. The proof, the sweet, the flavor,
The enjoyment.
Everything's just mellowed. But everything is exactly the same.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's got to just be the proof then.
Yeah.
And
But it is surprising that even the sweet feels like it's dropped.
Oh,
it
yeah.
just feels like watery.
Yeah,
Like it's just watered down.
It's watery, sweet water.
Yeah.
Watery, sweet water.
Watery sweet water.
But not, the beer
Not
sweet,
sweet
water.
water.
Right. It's fine.
It's good.
It's fine.
It's good.
Well, I'm saying the special reserve. I'm not going to
Even that.
It's fine. It's
good.
The 107's good.
I would say the 107 is like top tier good.
Okay.
It's not great,
Yeah.
but it's top tier good.
Okay.
I would say Weller's good.
Okay.
It's good.
Yeah.
I'm not, it's not aggressive and it's not.
I would be happy with either pour. I will say that.
That's what I'm saying. And I think I would say that about any good whiskey. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying. It's good.
Yeah. If someone had both bottles, like, hey, you want the Weller or the 107? I want the 107.
And they're going to be like, cool, here's some specials.
Right, because this bottle 107. No, I'm going to want the 107, honestly, simply because of the proof. Like,
Yeah, no, totally.
I would be happy if someone gave me a pour of whiskey and I was like, all right, not bad. What is it? Weller. Oh, okay, not bad.
I can't think of a whiskey where that wouldn't be the case. You want some Wild Turkey 101? You want some Wild Turkey 80? I'll take some 101.
Oh, sure.
Do you want some
saying.
red breast full proof? You want some red breast just normal? I'll take the full proof. Like I can't think of anything where I'd be like, I'll take the lower.
Yeah, give me that lower one. Right. No, I agree with
everything's because everything's amplified.
Correct. Yeah. No, I agree.
Now, I have had some bottles where it was like I've got the Elijah Craig barrel proof where it's 130 and I've got the 120. I'll take the 120. Yeah, sure. Like it's a better experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's so crazy how I'm going back and forth between. They are literally the same.
Yeah.
The only difference is the proof.
Yeah. It's just volume on everything's a little louder.
Yeah. So is the price.
Well, not in my case.
Well, no, not in your case.
That one was cheaper than that one.
Now that I've had it against the regular Weller, I really I appreciate the 107 even more.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we've compared the two, let's talk about all the things we love about Shang-Chi.
Okay.
All right. You want me to go first?
Totally.
This is what puts it at a top tier. I'm going to say top. You said top tier good for the
top tier good.
I'm going to say top tier good.
Okay.
Just below great. I love the fight scenes in this.
Yeah.
I am a sucker for this style of martial art movie.
Sure.
I love old school Jackie Chan.
Mm-hmm.
I love Jet Li.
Right.
I love
Bruce Lee.
I'm not a big Bruce Lee fan. I don't.
Damn.
I like Bruce Lee.
Wow.
I like the fighting in Bruce Lee movies. I do not like the stories of Bruce Lee movies. I know everyone's going to come
enough.
I know everybody's coming at me.
It's like saying you don't like Elvis.
I don't like it. I do like it.
It's like saying you don't like Garth Brooks.
Well, I really love. There's a series by a martial artist named Tony Jaa, and it's the Angbok Series, and it's like Muay Thai, and I love those kinds of gritty fighting movies. But I also love the Jet Li super hyper stylized hero and fearless, and those kind of this is not no fighting.
Right,
actually,
not even like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Exactly, real fighting doesn't look this way, but there's
Right.
something about that style of martial art movie that I just really love.
That's a good point.
And this checks all those boxes.
That breadth of this genre of realistic,
Yeah.
hand to hand,
Yeah.
versus mythical, otherworldly,
Right.
stuff.
Yeah. So
I've never even thought about
and
that.
that to me, some of the early martial arts movies that I watched were like the ones that were dubbed into English, and there was no real this is the name of the actor, this is the name of the people who are in it. It was just kind of Saturday morning kind of thing.
Right. How about have you ever seen any of Ip Man?
Yeah, I love
Donnie Yen.
Donnie Yen. I love
Holy
Donnie
shit.
Yen. Yeah,
Like that to me is on that very other end of
Correct.
like just like hand to hand.
yes.
There's
a little bit of stylization.
a little bit of stylization,
Sure.
but like for the most part, it's just
right.
pop, pop, pop.
Well, and that's one thing. Like my dad liked Jackie Chan, like early Jackie Chan, like Rumble in the Bronx, like Drunken Master Jackie Chan.
I watched Rumble in the Bronx so many
does
times
not-
back
oh,
then.
okay.
Oh yeah, oh my god, I can't imagine now. Like, 'cause
probably does
even
not
back
hold up.
then, it was like, but like now, it's got to be like even worse. But like,
I recently watched Drunken Master. I'm like, huh, yeah, okay.
interesting.
Like I've had a few. I remember as a kid, I'm like, oh, so that's what liquor does. Great, give me
Cool,
some of
let's
that.
go.
Yeah. Now I'm like, I could not do any. How does he do any of that shit?
yeah, no, in your head, that's what you're doing, but then in real life, you're just,
you just sit on the floor flopping around.
hit me. I need more juice.
But give me the juice. Sure. So it blends, like this film blends a lot of interesting martial arts styles, like hand to hand, Donnie Yen, kind of Ip Man, also Angbok, which is the Tony Jaa stuff I was talking about, with the Jet Li hyper stylized.
Totally.
Like one of my favorite martial arts movies is Hero. Have you seen Hero?
Yes.
Even if you do not like martial arts movies, this film is amazingly beautiful. It's so amazingly shot.
Yeah.
Like we should do an episode on that because I
Yeah.
love that movie, or just on martial arts movies.
Totally.
But what this does is it takes the MCU into that realm, and I love it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's such a good
love
point.
that.
Like I hadn't thought about it because it does. Like you have the moment on the bus that is very hand to hand, and like, oh shit, the stuff on the bamboo scaffolding.
yeah.
all that stuff is so crazy and cool, and that gives you that Donnie Yen style.
Yep.
And then it goes into the mythical realm that
Right.
gives you kind of more of that kind of crazy, otherworldly.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah,
type,
it gives you
like,
that stuff
floating
too,
kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's just like that. I didn't even think about that, but that is such
Yeah.
a cool thing where it bridges those genres together.
Yeah, that's what pushes it toward the better end for me.
Yeah. Before this movie came out, what was the best MCU movie that did hand to hand? I'll tell you what it was. It was Captain America: Winter Soldier.
I was gonna say Winter Soldier. Yeah,
Like that hand to hand between Cap and Bucky when he is the Winter Soldier. Like, oh my god,
Right.
And like this movie is the first one since that I feel like really does up the game,
Right.
in that aspect of the MCU. So like applaud you for that.
Oh yeah.
Just for raising that game,
Yeah.
alone.
And that to me, like, that's what makes this not a bad movie. To like,
Sure.
this is a really good movie.
So for me, in that same realm was, I mentioned it earlier, was you can give me just baseline MCU and I'm here for it.
Right.
But the fact that they brought in so much like Chinese culture,
Yes.
and brought in like in the same way that Black Panther brought in a whole new realm of culture, this did that same thing. And did it in such a cool way, and like is bringing in like mythical creatures that we've all seen.
Those lion things. those
Yeah,
are-
we've seen those things
super
for our entire
cool.
lives.
Yeah.
To see them in fucking action and can actually like run around, like incredible.
Yeah.
Like such a cool visual.
Yep.
That and it's so specific that like this movie to me will stand out just like Black Panther does in that way.
Yep.
From every other MCU movie, because it does such a good job of introducing a culture into the
Yeah, and that I
into the
mean,
storyline.
like I love that it's representation without the. And I'm not super well versed in Chinese culture, but I feel like Disney, Marvel, the people who are all involved in this have the best interest in representation in mind, and it's very clear. Like, we want to put out the best representation that we possibly can.
Sure. And especially coming from a comic book story that has kind of been surrounded by negative connotations.
Right.
Like it was based off of the success of Bruce Lee movies and stuff like that. That's how the character got started.
Yeah, I think it was like
in
Enter the
Marvel.
Dragon. Like they were released basically the same time, or like one right after the other.
Sure, it was just like a craze. So
Right.
like Marvel's like, we need to get let's make a character.
Right.
But there has been so much like negative stuff in the past where it was kind of like inappropriate.
Right.
To be able to come through now in a more woke era and get to be able to reintroduce it in a much more culturally sensitive way.
Right.
Cool.
And not just like culturally sensitive in like, hey, the Chinese culture exists. it's like, look how badass this is. Look how badass this mythos is. Oh, and by the way, it's also 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years old.
Yeah.
You guys with your Marvel shit, you think you're cute.
Right.
Like, this dude is or was Genghis Khan.
Right.
Take that.
Yeah.
You mentioned this a little bit earlier. I like all the nods to the MCU without it being very clearly rooted in the MCU. Like, Shang-Chi has no real understanding. It seems like they don't really know what's going on. Like, they're super surprised by Wong and the Abomination. Like, what? And then it seems like they're not really super aware of the last 10 years of goings on in the universe, apparently. Like, there's no way they couldn't have known that stuff, but you have these like slight little nods. You have Ben Kingsley come back as Trevor, which is a beautiful nod to Iron Man 3 and not the Mandalorian, the Mandarin, and like Killian Aldrich, and like how now he wasn't really the Mandarin. Wen Wu is really the Mandarin, and like I love that idea.
They wrote it so beautifully of like that's when he had like put down the 10 rings,
right? And somebody else,
the mythos of the 10 rings was still there, so this guy tried to like use that,
right?
Like, oh man, like so brilliant.
Yeah, and so I really appreciate, like, it is clearly a Marvel movie, but it's also like Marvel Universe, MCU, almost adjacent. Like, they reference things, but I don't feel like I'm beaten over the head with like, man, I've got to know 20-something movies of lore to understand what's going on here.
I will agree with that you don't need to have watched everything to enjoy this movie.
Right.
But again, with anything Marvel, if you have,
it's going to make it more enjoyable.
So much more like chef's kiss out of it, because like you will get all of those things.
Correct.
Like you will get the nod to Iron Man 3. You do get the nod to the Incredible Hulk. You do get the nod to Doctor Strange.
Right.
Like, you got all of those things tied in there. So to me, I think this movie does such a better job of connecting all of it,
right,
without beating you over the head with
sure
it. You know, it's not just fan service. It is just like little winks and nods here.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's an origin story. It's Iron Man 1, it's Captain America, it's regular Thor, it's an origin story. But at this point, we've seen so many origin stories. Like, yeah, that thing still exists. All those, like, we got to tell you how we got this character. All that exists, but it does it in a way, and maybe it's because of the cultural representation, that, like, it seems a little bit more fresh to me.
Sure.
And I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Like when we were discussing this movie like a few weeks ago about like, we need to do an episode on it, you had finally seen it. Like I was talking about like how I thought it was like top tier,
right? Solely
because of the connection with this character and his father.
Yeah, that's so good.
Like beyond anything else, it's that dimension of everything else that I can really think of. It's not really been a character versus dad,
right?
And that whole thing, and like there, I mean, dude, man, when at the end of it, when he finally gets through to his dad, and his dad is able to look back at him as my son, you finally got through to him. Oh, dude, it gives me chills, bro. It's also the first that I can think of where they give so much importance to the mother.
Right.
So it's both sides of it.
Exactly.
Like it takes both sides of him. It takes what he knows from his mother. It takes what he knows from his father. And it's both of those things combined, which is what any of us are.
Right.
You know, it's understanding both sides that have created you to make you kind of flourish in the best way. And like so gorgeous the way that they present it.
Yeah, I agree. Like just having this conversation makes me want to go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
Like, and I know that I'm going to at some point. I will say I am super excited where they're going with this particular character. I'm still on the fence of this second, what are they calling this? Like the 15th phase?
They haven't really said anything. It's just more like everything at this point is just kind of like post-Endgame.
Infinity Saga.
I mean, it is like phase 4.
Right.
But like...
I'm still on the fence with where they're going, but I'm bought in with this character.
Yeah.
Like, I like this character.
I think the brilliant thing that they're doing is like they've given you such a charismatic, enjoyable character that has just been introduced.
Right.
We still have a handful of characters that are out there that are still relevant. I mean, we got Thor coming, we've got Doctor Strange coming, we've got Spider-Man coming. You're seeing the basis of, hey, let's introduce some new characters.
Right.
The standard is still out there so that when we introduce whoever the big bad ends up being, now we're going to have this new collection of heroes come together.
Right.
That is super exciting to see how that happens and how it coalesces.
I mean, I maintain I'm not as bought in, but I'm interested. And this character has kind of rejuvenated that interest. Of like, okay, what are you guys going to do? How are you going to do this? Hey, you got anything else?
I don't think so.
Nah, I don't think so either.
Cool.
Yeah. So we want to know your thoughts on Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings, as well as your thoughts on the Weller Antique 107.
Yeah, the original weeded bourbon. Have you had it? Have you tried it? Have you tried some of the other Weller
That
things?
one says the original weeded bourbon too.
Well, that's just what Weller is.
Okay.
Not the 107. Weller in general.
Gotcha. You can get in touch with us through email. That's drepandstone@gmail.com. You can also get in touch with us through social media.
It's always one word, Drep and Stone. DREP and Stone. You come find us, you like us, maybe, comment on a thing, share a thing. We might send a sticker back at you.
Yeah, stickers.
It's beautiful how the way things work.
Yeah. Show us some love on those Tic Tacs.
TikToks, TikToks, Instagrams, Instagroms.
Right. And if you'd like to support the podcast, you can literally tell anybody about Drep and Stone. Tell them your favorite episode and what you find interesting about it.
Yeah, share it with a friend.
You can also rate us wherever it is you find great podcasts like this one. And you can help keep the lights on by buying us a pint through our Buy Me a Coffee page. It's buymeacoffee.com/Drep and Stone.
Drip and Stone.
Yeah. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
May your glass overflow.
And your ass never show. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Are you unzipping over there?
Ooh. Just getting comfortable, my friend.
Well, I support it. Did you break the headphones, damn it? I don't, there's a difference. I don't know.
One's
which
right,
is,
one's stupid.
Right. Whoa.
Wong. He could have peed on his hands.
I only deal in absolutes and literalisms.
You're a Sith.
You're not the first one to tell me that.
Only
today.
Sith deal in absolutes. Sir.
Nah, I don't want to.
Sexually?
How else would it be taken? Like, I want to know the alternative here.
I name my Jews. About Genghis Khan, Kublai Khan, all the cons.
All the cons.
So good.
Comic-Con, Dragon Con. So I got another thing that I actually really appreciate. I got another thing I appreciate
about
about
the girl.
Appreciate.
I've got one more thing I really appreciate.
Every single Marvel movie is about daddy issues.
Just Weller and Jeller. Gentler.
Weller and Jeller?
And Jeller. Thumbs up wherever you can put them.